Hey there and welcome back to Mass Effect. My name is Pete and today we complete the UNC Besieged Base assignment. This is the Paragon morality assignment for Shepard, and so therefore the assignment only unlocks once we have accumulated a certain amount of Paragon points. If you go for a more mixed playstyle, so frequently alternating between Paragon and Renegade choices, then of course this assignment can easily be missed. A few episodes ago we unlocked it though, and so we can now travel to the Caucasus system in the Hades Gamma Cluster. Inside the system we can find a mercury and a polonium deposit, and at this point I also have to apologize, my voice still hasn't fully recovered from my cold last week, and so it might sound a little rough here and there. Anyway, our planet of interest is Chohe, or at least that is what I think it is pronounced, and we can now land on that planet with a squad of Kaidan and Liara, and I will explain that squad choice in just a moment. Now, before we get going with the assignment, we have a mineral deposit very close by to the landing area, and so that will be our very first destination here. This plutonium deposit is one of two mineral deposits on the planet. The other one, however, will have to wait until after the assignment. We are now progressing towards our second location of interest, and while we do so, let's learn a bit more about the planet that we're on. Chohe is a planet with pretty much no atmosphere, so breathing on the planet's surface might be a bit of a problem. That might also be a reason for the lack of life on the surface. However, the planet is home to some subterranean life forms. The silvery white surface here is in fact not snow but aluminum, which is the planet's surface main component. And with that we have learned a bit more about the planet we're investigating, and we have now reached an abandoned camp. The probe outside here cannot be salvaged, but we can grab a few items from the crate behind it. And on top of those items we also recover some Asari Matriarch's writings. Up next we can deactivate the transmitter tower over here, and this tower has apparently transmitted the recording of a string quartet. There are two more containers to loot inside. The first one is a technician kit, which once again gives us a set of Asari Matriarch's writings. And interestingly enough, the same thing also happens after cracking the wall safe, so in total we just received 3 sets of Asari Matriarch's writings just from this camp alone. It might be possible that someone who lived here was collecting them as well. Now, with those 2 locations visited, we can now proceed to the science base where the assignment will take place. And on the way over there, let's listen into Admiral Hackett reminding us what we're actually here for.
Biotic fanatics have hit a medical research station with a psychotropic drug. The drugs have temporarily driven researchers crazy, and the biotics are effectively using them as human shields.
So if I shoot everything that moves, a lot of researchers are gonna die.
Exactly. A normal team could handle the biotics, but a lot of innocent researchers would die during the operation. That's why I contacted you. I'm hoping you can keep the casualties to a minimum.
Alright, it seems like our mission is pretty clear. Eliminate the biotic fanatics while keeping civilian casualties as low as possible. Now that sounds somewhat difficult, but it is actually not that hard, at least not if you brought a sufficient amount of biotics. And that is also the reason why Kaidan and Liara are with us. Inside the base we are once again reminded that the civilians are drugged and might just wander into the middle of a firefight, so it is a good idea to check our targets. Now, before we engage, there is a malfunctioning object in the back of the first room here, so let's grab what's inside and then deal with the biotic fanatics. Now, rushing into the main area is definitely a bad idea because that will likely get 1 or more civilians killed. And luckily, it is also almost entirely avoidable. 1 shot in the air here will be more than enough to trigger almost all the biotic fanatics, and now we don't have to engage and risk casualties and instead can simply wait for them to come to us. And once they arrive, we will greet them with the combined power of our biotics. After all, sometimes it's best to fight fire with fire. And that is the first group of biotic enemies already eliminated, and so far all the scientists are still alive. Now, there are still a few more enemies, and one of them is actually hiding in the back of the room here, so the approach might be a bit risky, but the whole thing can be made significantly easier if we immediately hit him with a lift and then eliminate him in the air. Now 3 more biotics remain, and with these we want to be a bit careful, because it can happen that some of the scientists actually also wander through this tunnel here. However, in our case we have a free line of fire, and so we can first disable the biotics with our biotics, and then let Shepard's assault rifle do the rest. And that's already it. We have cleared the facility of biotic attackers and have also managed to keep all the scientists alive. For that we will get a nice reward later on, but for the moment we can relieve the scientists of some of their stuff. Now there are 3 containers in this room, 2 of which we have already unlocked, and the scientists are also still wandering around. Still drugged, however, so the conversations with them will be rather, well, interesting. Now we won't talk to everyone here, but if you play this assignment yourself and you do have a few moments to spare, then feel free to check out what the scientists have to say. Some of the stuff is actually quite amusing. Now, just like the room on the other side, this room over here also has 3 containers, and the first one here is already pretty well hidden behind the shelves. The other 2 are a bit more accessible, and so only a few moments later we have cleared the facility of almost everything valuable. Now I say almost because on our way back to the entrance we have one more stop to make, as there is a medical kit to grab that we passed by earlier. Now granted, we are stocked full, and so this is kind of redundant at this point, but the completionist in me demands we do not leave this here. Now, however, we have completely cleared the facility. That means we can leave again and see what else the planet might have in store for us. Now, the first place we'll visit is the second mineral deposit I talked about earlier, but apart from that, the planet still also has a few other surprises for us. At the mineral deposit here we can survey some mercury, and then we can hop back into the Mako and prepare for one of those surprises. And just by looking at the large flat area we're driving on here, you might already be able to guess what's coming. Yes, we haven't had one in a while. Chohe is also home to another Thresher Maw. Now, just a few seconds into the fight we already catch one of the acid spits, but luckily the Mako should be able to take at least 2 more of those. Still, we have to be a bit careful in this fight, because as you can see the area here is completely flat. Now that is, for the most part, also the case with all the other Thresher Maws. However, the areas that those spawn in normally have the occasional small hill. And those small hills can be lifesavers when fighting Thresher Maws, as the beasts can only emerge from underground on a completely flat surface. So in a normal Thresher Maw fight we would just position the Mako on one of these small hills, rock back and forth and fire away. Now, as you can see, we are also doing the last 2 things here, but we have absolutely no security underneath us. So what I actually found to work best is to simply move the Mako as little as possible. That will normally also keep the Thresher Maw in place, and we won't have to worry about it destroying the Mako from below. Still, if for some reason the Thresher Maw decides to delve back down, there is no guarantee it won't pop up right beneath us. Now, we were lucky and able to keep it in place long enough, and so with an almost depleted health bar we can now go in for the kill on foot. Wonderful. No experience points because we have already reached the level cap, but still a moderate amount of satisfaction. And with the Thresher Maw killed we can now return to the Mako and proceed to our second to last point of interest. Over here we find a crashed probe that we can salvage for a grenade and an armor upgrade, and that leaves us with only one more location to visit. And spoiler alert, this will be the second small surprise. Now, while we're driving, I would quickly like to go back to the Besieged Base assignment. As you saw, we completed that assignment without civilian casualties, and for accomplishing that we will soon receive a large amount of Paragon points. And we still would have received some Paragon points, although a slightly lower amount if only up to 4 scientists would have been killed. Now, as you might know, we're actually still a bit short on Renegade points, and so why not go for the Renegade solution to that questline, because there is one. Well, the Renegade approach would involve getting 5 or more scientists killed, and for that to happen you almost have to deliberately mess up. It is also once again one of those assignments where the Renegade solution is objectively worse than the Paragon solution, and so since the assignment is actually pretty easy to solve without any casualties, I went Paragon here, even though we don't really need the points. And now, with that short explanation out of the way, we immediately find ourselves in the next firefight. Simply following a map marker, we have stumbled upon a group of mercenaries. And these are not the friendly type, they open fire immediately, and so our only option is to retaliate. After driving the Mako through the group to cause a bit of mayhem, we exit and immediately introduce ourselves with a round of biotic attacks. It is also a good idea to keep at least a bit of distance here, because there are several anti-tank units in the group, and staying away from those gives us a better chance at evading their rockets. Not that we would need to do that, however, because our biotic abilities are more than enough to decide this fight in our favor. And with that, we have now cleared the planet,
All targets down.
which Kaidan conveniently confirms here, and so let's hop back into the Mako and check out the map marker that we actually came for. Because interestingly enough, that map marker is actually a bit of a disappointment. The only thing we can examine here is a corpse, and the game only tells us that this person apparently died while attempting to salvage the satellite. It really doesn't matter much for us, because we can sadly not salvage the satellite ourselves. And so our business on Chohe is complete. Let's return to the Normandy. And to finally complete the assignment and earn our Paragon points, we just need to activate the galaxy map here.
Message coming in. Patching it through.
I didn't think it could be done, Commander. You managed to secure the base and neutralize the biotics without a single civilian casualty.
Well, to be honest, it wasn't all that hard, but still I'm quite happy with how the mission turned out.
Just doing my job, Admiral. I couldn't let innocent lives be lost.
I wish every soldier had your definition of just doing your job. You're a credit to the uniform, Shepard. We're in your debt. Fifth Fleet out.
Now we actually don't want to use the galaxy map at this point, so let's quickly exit again to see that we have just been awarded with 24 Paragon points. For a small number of casualties with up to 4 civilians killed, we still would have received 8 Paragon points. The Renegade solution would have gotten us 9 Renegade points, but like I said earlier, that wasn't really an option for me. And so the UNC Besieged Base assignment is now completed, and that means we are finally ready to head off to Virmire. That will happen in the next episode though. For today I can say thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.